This video is being made for students who decided to do the 3D version of the model of an atom. Those students that wanted to do that needed to have white glue. It doesn't need to be Elmer's, but you need some type of a liquid-like white glue to make this project work. In the bag that you prepared to take home, you should have two pieces of paper. One of those is a heavier piece and one's a lightweight piece. The lightweight one is one that you can practice with, or if you mess up the good one, the heavier paper, you can use the lightweight for it. If you decide not to use it at all, we can just set it aside. So we've got the heavy paper. Then you should have 12 of 3 different colors of these things called pom-poms. So in my case, I've got 12 blue ones, 12 red ones, and 12 yellow ones. We'll put those in the bag. And then you should have a toothpick. If you don't have the toothpick, you can use something around the house. Anything will work. You could even use a pencil. And you also need a piece of thread, which is in this bag somewhere. If I hold it up to the camera, you're probably not gonna, yeah, you can probably see it a little bit. So that thread. We're gonna leave that in the bag, and we're gonna go to this part of the project. We're supposed to first of all fold it exactly on the dashed line, this little line that has dashes, and we have to fold exactly on the line. After we fold it, we should still be able to see it. If you fold the other way, it's going to be inside the fold. I'll show you what I mean. Like if we were to fold it this way, we couldn't see the line, so we want to fold it so that we can see the dashed line and the circles. So there, we're folded right on the dashed line. The next step is we're going to take a pair of scissors and we're going to cut this big circle. The biggest, actually it's not a circle, it's an arc, but you're cutting through both pieces, both sides of the paper. Take your time doing this. I'm going to be going pretty quick to demonstrate this, so mine may not be as neat as yours. So if you happen to unfold it, it's going to look like a complete circle. Next thing you want to do is cut out each of the arcs, each of these parts of a circle, starting with the biggest one and ending up with the smallest one. In order not to take up a bunch of time, I'm going to stop the video, and after they're all cut out, we're going to come back to it. Okay, we've got all the pieces cut out, and we want to straighten each of these out. 3 of these circles are going to say the word scrap on it. For example, this one says scrap, it gets thrown away. There's another one that says scrap, and then a third one. So three pieces say scrap, we don't want those. We're going to lay it out so we've got the big circle, and then the next bigger circle inside it, the next circle inside it, the last one, and then the circle in the middle goes right in the middle. Now we want to line it up so that these dots are lined up. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of those dots, and they should all be lined up. Also, the dashed line that we folded on originally, it's going across this way. Okay, next thing we need to do is put a little drop of glue on each one of those dots. And this glue is going to be the white glue, and it has to be a pretty small dot. So I'll get the glue started. It's sticking off the end of the tip, and we just want a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, I missed one. This one was 8. I thought there were 8 dots. All right. Now this next step may be difficult. You might need to get somebody to help you with it, a brother, a sister, a parent. In my case, I'm going to get help with a piece of tape. This is the thread that we looked at earlier. You want that thread to go across all those dots, and you want the thread to go down in the dot. So one time I tried this and I just made a mess. So what I'm going to do, either have somebody hold one end of it down, or I'm using a piece of tape to hold it in place. I guess you could put a book on it or something to weight it down. Then you have a toothpick in your bag of goodies, the parts you need for the project. So we're going to push the thread down into the glue, go to the next dot, and I'm keeping some pressure up here so that the string stays kind of tight, not real tight, but stays straight. And like this last one, I had to use a toothpick to put the glue over the thread. So we want the thread to actually be in the glue, just not laying on top of it. All right, and I'm going to tape this down because the glue is going to take a while to dry. The glue is water-based, so we have to wait for the water to evaporate from the glue, and this could take an hour or two. So I'm going to put this somewhere. I've done this somewhere where nobody's going to bother it. We'll let that completely dry, and then we'll come back to it. So we're going to stop the video here. Our models had a chance to dry. In fact, this one dried overnight. So we'll remove the tape, and it looks like this little section right in here got glued to the table. There, it came loose. So we have to be careful about getting glue on the table. This end is the just a little bit of string left, or thread, and I'm going to cut that off. And then on the other end, there's a lot of thread, and we want to leave that so that we can tie it and display it when it's done. Next step is we're going to start adding the electrons. Those are the ones that orbit on the shells. You'll remember from class, the smallest of the shells can have up to 2 electrons. This next shell, shell 2, can have up to 8. Shell 3 can have up to 18. We're going to be making a magnesium model. Magnesium has the atomic number 12, which means it's going to have 12 electrons. So we're going to put 1, 2 on the first shell. We're going to distribute 8 on the next shell. So that'd be 2 plus 8 is 10, and then we'd have to put 2 on the last shell. To put them on, we're going to go back to our white glue. You can either put the white glue on the pom-pom, or you can put it on the shell itself. Whoops, dropped that. So I put it on the pom-pom, or I could just put it on the shell, which might be a better way of doing it. Because you saw when I dropped that pom-pom, I ended up with glue on the table. So if we put it on the shell, we wouldn't have to worry about that. So those 2 that are on that shell, that's the most that we can have. And we're going to put them top and bottom of that circle, the left side and right side of that shell, and then in the middle of each one. All right, so we've got 8 on that shell, 2 on the first shell, and then we'll need to put 2 on the last shell. Where I'm putting them is not absolute. You can put them other places. Just try to distribute them equally. You don't want them all bunched together. Okay, that would be the electrons, and you'll need to give that time to dry. So the string we put on here, I allowed that to dry overnight. Probably an hour would have been good if I was doing it all the same day. And these probably need to dry about an hour also. So we'll stop the video here and then come back after these are dry. Our model has now had plenty of time to dry with the atoms glued to each of these shells. The next step is we need to add the protons, and those are going to go in the nucleus. That would be this middle section. Originally, I was going to have you put both protons and neutrons in the middle, and that would mean that we'd be putting 12 protons and 12 neutrons, and there's just not room enough to do that in here. So we're going to pick out one color and call that protons and not worry about the neutrons. Also, we're going to put protons on both sides of the nucleus, whereas the electrons are on one side of the shell. We're going to put the protons on both sides. So we're going to start out by putting some glue. It'd be great if we could put dots of glue down, but I think we're probably going to end up with more like a circle here, and that's fine. We're going to put 5 in a circle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it makes that shape. And then we're going to put some glue on each one of them. And if it gets a little sloppy in there, it's okay because this last proton is going to cover that up. So this is going to be 6 protons in the middle, in the middle section. This is the 6th one. And we're going to have to let that dry once again, probably for at least an hour. And then we're going to flip it over and put the protons on the other side. This side of our model is now dry, and we're going to try to carefully turn it over. Actually, we don't need to turn the whole thing over, just the nucleus part. And we're going to try to repeat the same pattern on this side as we did on the first side. That first side needs to dry about an hour. I'm not sure mine's completely dry, so I'm going to be real careful and try to do this second side without disturbing the first side. So once again, we're going to put a circle of 5 dots that represent our protons. And then we're going to try to put a dot in the middle. And that would be our 6th proton on this side. We've already got 6 on the other side. And then once again, we have to let this dry. This particular project isn't terribly time consuming. It's not terribly difficult, but it does take time because you have to let things dry between each step. When you do this project, you want to find a place where you can let things set undisturbed by little brothers and sisters or pets or the wind. It needs to be able to set undisturbed for probably an hour at a time for the different steps. And then you should be able to put it back in the bag to bring it to school, and you'll bring that back to school on Monday. But treat it pretty gently. You could probably even put it between books, like squish it down flat between books and then without folding anything and get it back to school that way. But since you've got the baggie, you might as well go ahead and put it in the baggie, and then if you want to put it between books or something, you could. Okay, that's going to have to dry. Once it's dry, we'll be able to pick it up with the thread and display it.